Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Well, it's 10 o'clock and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather here in the Room to Room Weather Center. It has been a nice warm day, but we are going to be a little bit cooler tomorrow. Not a big cool down, not the giant drop that we started this week with and ended 2025 with, but just a little bit cooler because of some rain chances that are creeping in. So cooler for a few of us to end the week. I say that when we show you high temperatures here in a minute, it actually could go up a little bit for a few locations because of a warm front moving in. It's also the focal point for some rain and storm chances. We're tracking that in more detail come up here in a couple minutes. Rain and storms are possible on your Friday. And while I say and storms, we are not talking about severe storms. Let's get that out of the way right now. No severe weather for our area as far as this system is concerned, unless something dramatically changes. But we do have a big warm up ahead looking toward next week. And I do think eventually in the far extended forecast, storms and maybe some stronger storms do become a little bit more likely. But that's beyond the 7-day and really about 10-day forecast sort of period. So a ways out there. In the near term, we're 47 at 11 p.m. on the first 12 here. Looking at 45 by 2 in the morning, 44 degrees as we look toward around 5 a.m. under what should be these mostly cloudy skies. We're trying to kind of saturate the atmosphere, get a little bit more moisture down in here, trying to get things more prepared to try to produce some rainfall. Those chances definitely increase tomorrow. As you can see by midday there, we're practically in the mid 50s and those rain coverages up to around 40%. But even then, not expecting a whole lot of rumbles related to that batch there. Our Tupelo Tower Cam this evening at, what are we at? About 10:03. Looking out at cloudy skies, but no rainfall there and good visibilities. Look back toward the southwest. Appreciate Mitchell Cunningham Bowling for sponsoring our Tupelo Tower Cam. And of course, our partnership there with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, bringing you 43 degrees temperature in Tupelo right now. In Amory, again, those different higher level clouds showing up on that perspective there, kind of a longer exposure. The reason those show up a little better than they do on the Tupelo one. We're 41 degrees at this instant under what are, again, mostly cloudy but dry conditions. Trying to add a little more moisture to the atmosphere. Got a long ways to go for that. Looking out toward Alabama and looking across our region, as you can see here, not a lot to speak of as far as cloud cover of significance. But you don't have to go that far back to the north and west to get into this into Oklahoma. That L you see back on the plains, that is what will move toward us. The track of that system, expect to kind of take it basically out east here and toward our area. And so it's going to bring the rain chances with it as it comes our direction. We do expect those to start to a certain extent early in the day. So here's a look at Futurecast. As you can see, just mainly dry conditions as of the 10 p.m. time period. A little bit of rainfall back out there toward Texarkana, Arkansas there, moving our direction. And again, that's the moisture. Watch how that kind of fills in, becomes a little bit more widespread. Okay, maybe a lot more widespread by 3 a.m. And so no rumbles even in this, because as you look at our scale here at the top, we don't have any of the reds or even hardly any yellows. So this is still mainly higher variety rain falling into somewhat drier air here closer to the surface. As we go throughout your Friday, as you could see here by 6 a.m., I start plotting on this front. And what changed here? Ultimately, I think it's just the defined enough boundary that we can kind of call it what it pretty much already was at that point here, and that's called a warm front. That's because, of course, where you see those dots there, we have warmer air coming up from the south, but it's not just warmer air, it's also more moisture coming up as well. And so that combination of those two things eventually will bring better chances for some rainfall as we go toward midday and especially tomorrow in the afternoon. Just kind of clear things off there and kind of bring it back a little farther to the east. You can see how it does kind of look like little pockets. And that's an important factor. That's a sign that, again, maybe a little bit of convective nature to this. That's where you kind of get things really bubbling up. But at that point, honestly, I'm just not impressed by what we're looking at there. By noontime, as you can see, mainly dry conditions out there. But there's certainly more moisture that's on the way as we progress through the day, and that becomes a little bit more likely as we go into the afternoon. So still more dry than wet, even at midday on your Friday. We're going 40% on that rain coverage then. We'll go 30% by 3 p.m. and back up to 50% as we look towards 6 p.m. For tomorrow. I might have underdone that just a little bit, but I think once we get into that time frame where maybe we have a few storms popping in, honestly, they're pretty isolated in nature, and the best rainfall totals are going to be wherever those isolated storms end up developing. Now, coming up here in 60 seconds, we're going to look at the latest on Futurecast. We do have an updated version of Futurecast, and where it's placing those isolated storms. We're talking about the overall severe weather risk for the region, which, again, big headline we don't want to miss is that we do not have a severe weather risk from this chance. We're looking at that. We're also talking update here related to what's going on in the Sugar Bowl. I'll give you that score right now. Ole Miss now up 33-14. Not encouraging you to go watch something else, but with 9 minutes left in that one, that's a 14-point increase from last time I checked in the last few minutes here. So the Rebels looking like they're doing okay. Obviously opposite of what happened with Alabama earlier. We'll keep an eye on that. And we'll have the very latest on your forecast as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
At Room to Room, did you know our specialty is custom ordered upholstery? Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love, your mind.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, current time is 10:08. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather out in Caledonia, Lowndes County. I know we got a lot of faithful viewers out there, and good evening to you. Hopefully you are having a fantastic day. You've had a wonderful and safe holiday period. I don't know about you. One of those questions always buzzing around Lawpon House. How much longer do we keep up those Christmas decorations I look out in the living room and see out there? I think they're coming down next couple of days. Maybe you're in the same boat as I am on that there, but appreciate you, Pitter, Pat there, Just Brenda, and a lot of the folks that tend to ride with us every single night here on Mississippi Live Weather. Glad to have you on board with us again this evening. Okay, so as we look beyond Caledonia and we look across the region, again, rainfall chances over the next few days here remain one of the stories, right? Up around 50% coverage on your Friday, diminishing to 10% by Saturday. Really, first part of the day when we're going to see stuff, and pre-dawn, honestly, is the greatest chance there. We're drier as we go through the extended forecast until probably late next week. And the pattern does, if we stay warm enough, and indications are we could, it stays aligned where we could start having some stronger storm chances, perhaps in the far extended forecast. Still a long ways out, but something we're certainly watching pretty closely here. Saturday's temperature, we're 56 degrees for the high. We're 54 by Sunday. Mild days as the pattern begins to dry out for a good chunk of next week. Severe weather risk, something we should address here for a moment. Again, we do not have one for our area. You don't have to go that far away, though, where there's at least a limited severe weather risk, but we do have a chance for some isolated thunderstorms outlined by the Storm Prediction Center. We agree with this risk. But really the severe weather chance, that level 1 severe weather risk for locations out there to the south and east, southeast Alabama, Florida Panhandle, back out there into Georgia. All locations that could be impacted eventually by that more active weather, but still for us close, but thankfully not close enough. So we're really close here to the Mississippi State Wake Forest game. Of course, the Duke's Mayo Bowl there, 52 kickoff temperature. Appreciate Carl Hogan for Toyota for riding with us all SEC football season. And that forecast obviously is going to remain mainly dry as we go through that game, but certainly a little cooler than what's going on down there in the Superdome in New Orleans. Double checking, 8:24 left in that game, and Ole Miss with the ball up 10 points. Man, that's a big one for sure. Still ongoing down there. I know we probably have some folks multitasking, watching us, watching that at the same time. I can't say I blame you for that. Wake up temperature on your Friday, 44 degrees. By snack o'clock, I think at noontime there, we're going to be around 40% on that rain coverage, and some of those chances do continue into the afternoon. We're hopeful that things might dry out just a little bit as we progress into the afternoon time period. Again, appreciate IMPC for sponsoring our school day and no school day forecasts. Mama Justice Doppler radar here, again, only showing just a few little showers out there for locations out closer to Greenville. Here's the thing about this. I don't think any of this moisture is hitting into the ground. This is a sign just how high up some of that moisture is, right? Because if we were to measure back to the southwest, that's looking, about 160 miles away? And that's as close as we're actually seeing any moisture. So that's one of those signs that this is not getting anywhere near the ground. So as we look at some of the rain chances, it's going to take a while before that moisture becomes more meaningful moisture. On the wider shot here, you can see where there's a little bit more. And see, that's how much farther to the west you have to go there before you start to see some more of that meaningful rainfall on the national composite at this time. A lot of cloud cover with this, a sign of what is coming. But if I step to the side here for a moment, I'm going to switch this over to a different version of our satellite, what we call the water vapor satellite. And so you can see kind of the drier air aloft. More than anything, this is a sign of kind of a little push in the jet stream with it as well. If you watch closely, you can kind of see has a little sort of swoosh to it as it comes over top of the mountains there. So this overall storm system we have here, the whole thing's going to move our direction. It just doesn't have a lot of cold air to tap into, which is part of the reason why it's not going to be a lot colder. It'll be maybe just a little bit colder behind this. So let's look here in more detail at Futurecast. And as you can see, keeping those showers, again, fairly light for the first part of your early Friday morning. Bring it in a little bit closer here. A moderate rainfall really at most on this. 3:34, 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m. Yeah, it gets maybe a little bit heavier, but still fairly light. When yellow is as heavy as it gets down there for Kosciuszko, stretching back toward Greenwood, Shelby, that tells you that it is not particularly heavy and that things overall, we could have some wet roadways, but probably more dry than wet as far as that is concerned there. But if you want to stay ahead of anything related to that, I definitely want to encourage you to check out our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley. She's on with us every single morning during the weekdays, 6:30, 7:30 a.m. She'll have any updates related to where Mama Justice Doppler radar has those rain showers, where the thunderstorms are most likely to develop later in the day. Check her out each and every weekday, 6:37, 7:30 a.m. here on the Mississippi Live Weather this morning. But as you can see, for us, at that point, still most of it is fairly light with better chances to maybe see some rumbles, I think, later in the day by the time I'm back on shift tomorrow. So mid-40s out there, Water Valley, as well as Oxford. We're 45 degrees in Bruce and Houston, 43 in Amory to begin the day on your Friday, with a few spots to practically the 50-degree point, like Greenville there and Belzona at 49. So going throughout the late morning time period, notice how we'll still have, again, fairly widespread showers, but there's still a lot of holes in here, a sign that things are probably going to be more dry than wet with that as we're kind of still transitioning, bringing in moisture. Because what we have is we have this red line here. This represents, again, that warmer air, what we call a warm front. As we talked about off the top of the show, that means the air behind it is both warm and also more moist. And the moist part of that is the story. It just takes a while for all that moisture to get pulled up out of the Gulf of Mexico with this. And so as a result, as we go through their day, as you can see, don't have a ton. It's heavier up to Jonesboro there. As there's just more lift, it's able to get it farther north and kind of squeeze out more related to that. But watch what happens as we go into the afternoon here. And I'll bring it in just a little bit closer for a moment here to look at this. We kind of get this time period, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, where we really don't have much out there, right? And then it starts to fill in a little more. But on this perspective, as you can also see, we show a few more rumbles up there to the north, potentially up into Tennessee related to this. So all indications are these are going to be showers more than storms, and that we're definitely not in the most likely location to see them become heavier. But I do still show a few that could be popping up there. Tuscaloosa back toward around Columbus and Oxford. Wouldn't at all be shocked to see some rumbles associated with this at that point in time. High temperatures, we're going 58 in Tupelo, 60 degrees in Amory, 61 there in Houston and Bruce, 67 Kosciuszko, and 68 in Belzona. Again, the other factor with this front is it is a warm front, so much warmer air down south, about 10 degrees warmer than what we have up near the Tennessee state line. And in all cases, we're above our normal for this time of year. So rainfall. Notice how there's just not much through the day on Friday. But then as we go into Friday night, look at that. And that's the idea. We expect more moisture to continue to move in as we progress into Friday night and then early pre-dawn Saturday morning, well before dawn, really, it's about midnight, leading into Saturday. And it's that time frame where we are most likely, where you see the greens there, to have a half inch or more of rainfall in the rain buckets. So here's how Futurecast plays that out. As you can see here, still showing, again, for most of us, it's as light a variety stuff, but there are a few bits of orange that show in close to Itawamba County, out there toward Franklin County, Alabama, and then back up toward Tippah County and Lowndes County as well. Notice you don't have as much red on here as what we had at even 5 and 6 o'clock. And as we mentioned, this is unlikely to be a scenario where we have severe weather, thankfully. No severe weather out of this. There will be some rumbles with this as we go into your Friday evening and Friday night. If you can see just right below that front there, it's just going to be right on this boundary, or maybe one or two of these. Looking to Alabama and out there toward Jasper, that one is a little bit heavier, right? So in theory, a few of these could get somewhat heavier, maybe some wind gusts, certainly some windows rattling, but this is unlikely to be a severe weather situation. And as that front passes, as you'll see behind it, the air is drier and a little bit cooler. So this is one and done as this front kind of moves through the area for the latter part of tomorrow. We'll have some showers ahead of that, but if we were to have anything heavier, it's right when that system is pretty much directly overhead in the late evening hours tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, and then leading into the first part of early morning on your Saturday. So Saturday's lows, we're mid-40s up here, South Haven, toward around Holly Springs, upper 40s for Houston, Eupora, and low 50s there for Starkville, Louisville, and Macon. That is a sign of that cooler air coming in from the north and west. And so behind this here, latest look at Futurecast, our HRRR model here, keeping it a lot lighter than what we showed you at 5 and 6 o'clock on kind of the last little wave with moisture moving through here. So for us, this is not a situation we're concerned about these rumbles becoming overly heavy or strong. More likely, by the way, to see some rumbles with this down for locations into eastern Alabama, and then some severe weather chances possibly into Florida with this, as we talked about earlier. Look at those storms. And just for a moment of comparison, this is why I say our severe weather threat is not one that I'm particularly concerned with. Look at these down here in South Georgia. This is what severe thunderstorms look like on our model here. When you start seeing storms like that, I could argue for a limited tornado threat on what that looks like there. So these are heavier, and they in no way compare with what we had up here. What we have up here was a lot less impressive, and certainly behind this, it is the cooler air moving in that's a big, big part of the story. So high temperatures as far as Futurecast is showing up on your Saturday, expecting those to be in the upper 40s near South Haven. We'll still probably have some spots in the upper 50s, Belzona, Greenwood, but still low 60s for Columbus, for Aliceville, for Macon, as that front waits until we're going through the day to really start moving on into and through the area. Give me a moment here. I promise this, and then I got doing other things. TEMP. We're going to look at Futurecast on temperatures, and I'm going to show you the hour by hour on that. We'll have to do the regional one here if you'll bear with me for a moment. I wanted to show you the drop in temperatures that we have with this here. So obviously big warm up for tomorrow, and then the dropping temperatures on your Saturday. Notice how we do by Saturday afternoon kind of get back up to around the 60-degree point. The cold front isn't super duper strong with that, where it just keeps us going a lot cooler. But yeah, into your Sunday, you can see starting that day back with temperatures closer to the freezing point. So a bit of a decent drop once the storm system fully moves through the area. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast here. And again, rain coverage, we're at 50% for that on your Friday. Rumbles, yes. Severe weather, no. Not something we're going to deal with out of this. We're 56, drying out and getting cooler as we go into your Saturday. Obviously, some spots still in the 60s, and I might be a little low, honestly, at that 56. If we're being honest, kind of looking at the latest I saw a moment ago there on the latest update, I could have tweaked that up a little bit more. So still a little conservative on that. We're 54 by Sunday. We're 62 degrees as we look toward Monday, 66 by Tuesday of next week, with temperatures near 70 by the middle part of the week. And rain chances and maybe some thunderstorm chances getting a little bit more likely late in the week, late in that period there as well. That's something that, you know, we talked about 5 and 6 o'clock, kind of a little bit more fuel, a little bit more moisture, kind of figuring in on that. let's talk about that in more detail here in just a moment. Do you want to give folks there watching, or interested in that Ole Miss game, an update? That game is now closer. It is 34-31, Ole Miss with the ball. First and 10 at their 36 with 5:33 left in the fourth quarter of the Sugar Bowl. Obviously, huge game there involving the Rebels. And, man, close one. A lot of points scored here in this fourth quarter. 15 points for Ole Miss, 7 for Georgia. And it's a 3-point game. So exciting matchup there ongoing. Appreciate you either watching us in the other device or on the screen there. Obviously, I'm a Kansas fan, but on nights like this, clearly cheering for one of our home teams in this state. Okay, let's look Cape, and we're going to look at GFS Cape 168 hours. So give me a moment to pull that up here. Pull that over. And so this is that latest fuel that we were talking about here. Let's make sure this is on the latest one. It is. Okay. So, and I want to double check, and I don't know that I'm going to have the 0Z data on this yet. So let's see if I can force. Nope. So this is still going to, I think, be 18Z on this, unfortunately. But that's fine, because that shows you kind of the fuel. We do have some Saturday, but it's mainly south. I pulled this up to show you that once we get beyond that in the next week, there's not much even through the latter part of the week. But you get beyond Thursday and things get a lot more interesting. So let's take this out instead of 168 hours. There we go. We're going to go farther than that. We're going to look too far out into the future. So again, this is next week. This is a week from Friday. And notice a week from tomorrow, the amount of fuel is a lot more substantial on this projection here. I think we're in a zone we could have more in our area, possibly towards Saturday as well. Listen, it's a long ways out, but there are some indications that not a day or so from now, Saturday, but a week beyond that, we could be talking about some stronger thunderstorms. We haven't had a whole lot of that recently. We're hoping that's not the way this plays out, but certainly it is on the table as a possibility on how that could work. In fact, if you give me a moment here, we will look at some nitty-gritty behind-the-scenes stuff, because it is 10:23, and I don't know, what do we toss to the 24-hour channel so we can talk about what we want to talk about? Just don't tell Gabe, or he'll try doing that as well, as he should. By the way, well, okay, we'll get to that here in a second. So let's go. Want weather.cod.edu. This is a website I forecast off of that allows us to kind of look at the latest numerical models on some of our longer range sort of things on that to kind of look toward what the end of next week sort of looks like there. And honestly, I'm probably going to have to, for as far as European is concerned, probably still go back to 12Z on that as well. But I wanted to give you kind of a model comparison. So give me a moment while I pop that up. I apologize that this is riveting TV stuff while I'm bringing it up. So let's see here if that is ready. Nope, that's my chat with the National Weather Service. There we go. There we go. Okay. We'll kind of zoom that in. So this is kind of your comparative to what we had a moment ago there. And again, showing that there's not a ton of fuel until perhaps midweek we start to see slightly better fuel around the area. And as you can see, the timing on that toward Thursday is okay. But what I'm noticing is that, there's a little bit of a sync issue between those two projections as well. But in either case, what it shows, you're going about in that 8 to 12 day time period. Both our projections do have some fuel getting up in here and a pattern shift that would be more active and more likely to support strong and severe thunderstorms. So not an impossibility that we kind of take things a little bit more that direction. In the nearer term, if you happen to be somebody that's going to be traveling down closer to the coast related to some of the severe weather chances that we do have, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this up and make this look good. So give me a second here. We do partner with a number of other groups around this part of the world. One of them is Panhandle Weather. Let me see if that'll fill the screen a little better. Hold on a moment. Ooh, I made my system There we go. The folks down there up at Panhandle Weather, if you have, for whatever reason, oh man, it does not like that. I'll have to figure out a monitor size that it does like. Anyway, download the Panhandle Weather app. Some good buds of ours down there. They have a severe weather chance down closer to the coast. And so if you, for whatever reason, have any reason to head down that direction, they'll get you taken care of. Ooh, I made my system really mad because I look pretty choppy right now. So we're going to go ahead and drop that. We're going to bring back the normal. That made things really unhappy. Note to self, need more RAM if we're going to pull that off. Okay, well, I'm checking our chat here with everybody. Still talking about close game. 3:13 left. Georgia with the ball. 1st and 10 at the Ole Miss 36. Man, 3:13 left in that game there. It's a crazy one going back and forth. Hello, Happy New Year to everybody on that. I don't think we're going to wait for that game to completely over, but certainly a big one going on there, and hopefully things go well for the Rebels. Our next live broadcast is going to be tomorrow morning at, that'd be 6:30 a.m. As we talked about earlier, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be in. She will likely be tracking some showers. I don't think we're talking really any thunderstorms initially. It'll be probably late in the day, probably afternoon time before we see that. The very latest on that from the Room to Room Weather Center on where those rain chances are. And if, for whatever reason, there is some influx and instability that allows some storms to get stronger, she will have updates related to that starting at 6:30 a.m. Happy New Year, everybody in the chat there. Glad that you've been supporting us, and hope you continue to do so into 2026. We will see you tomorrow.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt LaPon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt LaPon has proven himself trustworthy.